Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Brahma Bulletin. I'm the Bullish Brahma, and I'm here to talk everything San Antonio Brahmas. In today's video, I'll be looking at the Brahmas who made it in the NFL and see how they did during week 2 of the NFL preseason. I'll then take a look at the latest news and updates of anything that happened since my last video, and then I'll end it by doing another Brahma in the spotlight. It's going to be a good one, so without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so we know that there are 10 Brahmas that made it in the NFL, and last week there wasn't that much that happened. A couple players made the field, but there wasn't that much news or much updates to give. And so far in week 2, there really isn't that much more to tell. Most of the Brahmas didn't even make the field. Um, the most significant players that played was Delonte Scott. He was signed by the Falcons, and just a couple of days later, he made the field. And matter of fact, he got a tackle and was credited with half a sack, and he had one quarterback hit. So not too bad in a debut, especially just a couple of days after signing. Speaking of recent signings, Matt Gotel, he recently signed with the Seattle Sea Chickens and just days later made his debut. And he had two tackles, a solo tackle and one tackle for loss. So an excellent job for him, especially just like Delonte, just signing with the team and a couple of days later making your debut. So good job on those two. Um, John Parker Romo, he didn't even make the field. He played last week, made a field goal, but this week he didn't see any action at all. Kobe Smith, he got two tackles for the Giants, so he's continuing to do pretty well so far in the preseason. Jacques Patrick, he played against my Vikings. He had 8 carries for 29 yards. That's a 3.6 yards per carry average, and his long was of 7 yards. So not too bad. Not too bad. I mean, nothing to write home about, but still not too bad. Alize Mack also with the Titans, so he also played against the Vikings. Now, interestingly, he started, but he didn't make a single catch and wasn't even targeted. He was strictly like a pass blocking, run blocking tight end, and that was it. Luke Barku didn't play. I thought he had a good game last week, but this week he didn't see the field. Rex Anahara, he's a long snapper, and well, what can you say about that? I mean, apparently he made all the plays, so good job. Reed Sinnott, again, did not see the field for the Bengals, so I don't know what's up with that. And Derek Kelly with the Browns, so far he has played 52 snaps, hasn't given up a sack, and hasn't had a penalty called against him all preseason long. So that's good. And that's it. That's all the news of the Brahmas in week 2 of the preseason. So as you just heard, not a whole lot to report. Now, remember, the NFL only has 3 preseason games, so this weekend, that's it. So maybe we'll see more Brahmas playing in the final week of the preseason. That's typically the game that all the hopefuls and the backups and those who are fighting for roster positions play. So I believe this will be the week that we'll see a majority of our Brahmas in the field. So we'll see. All right. All right. So next up is the latest news and transactions of everything that happened in the week since I made my last video. And honestly, this is going to be very, very quick because guess what? No signings, no releases, no trades. It was absolutely quiet on the news front when it comes to the Brahmas. There were a lot of XFL players that were signed by other teams, but as far as San Antonio goes, we didn't make the news wire at all. So it was a real quiet week for news and transactions. So we'll move on to the Brahma in the spotlight. So this week's Brahma in the spotlight, I decided to go with R.J. Hubert, defensive back from the Utah Utes. Now, The reason why I picked him is because, well, for one, I love the name. uh, my my name is Robert, and my middle name is James, and I do go by RJ. So I saw that we signed a guy named RJ, so I had to go with him. But let's take a closer look at Mr. RJ Hubert and see what we can find out about him. Okay, so we'll see that yes, he did play for the Utah Utes. He is a safety. He's from Longdale, Nevada, originally, and he went to Moapa Valley High School. All right. Now, in 2022, he did play in all 14 games with 13 starts as safety. Now, we'll get to that in a minute. The reason why I'm highlighting that he played in all 14 games, and like I said, we'll get back to that in a second. He was a Pac-12 All-Conference honorable mention and a semifinalist for the 2022 William V. Campbell Trophy. Now, interesting about that is that it was formerly called the Vincent DePaul Dratty Trophy and is awarded by the National Football Foundation to the American college football player with the best combination of academics, community service, and on-field performance. So, good job for him on that. He tied for fourth in the Pac 12 with 3 interceptions. He shared the team lead with 2 forced fumbles and 2 recoveries. See, he had a career best 12 tackles and recorded a 70-yard interception return. That's really good. His first career interception came versus Southern Utah, a 39-yard pick six. And he logged 8 tackles at Florida with a 47-yard fumble return, the longest by Utes since 2019. So stats are not too bad, not too bad. But I want to circle back to what I said earlier at the beginning, where I said that he started all those games. Now, unfortunately, Mr. RJ Hubert has a story that is filled with injuries and second chances, third chances, and it really highlights the struggle that he has gone through. And so just starting all those games for him was a struggle. And you'll be able to see here in a second that it's a story of faith, and it's a story of persistence, and a story of determination. And that's the real reason why I wanted to share his story. In this article, it reflects on lessons learned in adversity and his faith before returning to the Rose Bowl. Big key here is that he suffered 2 knee injuries, like back-to-back years. It was pretty horrible. He suffered a season-ending knee injury in the Pac-12 championship game against Oregon in 2019, and then during the pandemic shortened 2020 campaign, he saw limited playing time and he suffered another season ending injury in the 2021 spring game. And he's had a long journey to get where he's at. He's suffered several major injuries, but his faith and experience as a missionary has helped him achieve the success he has. See here that his quote is, "I have learned great lessons of resiliency, being persistent and believing in myself. I had to realize that God will sustain me in my efforts." Just an amazing story. I recommend that you take a look at this article. I will leave a link to this article in the description below. Guy from a small town in Nevada. So he grew up in Longdale, Nevada, a town of more than 3,000 people, which I absolutely relate to that because I grew up in a town of 300 people in northern Minnesota. And so I know what it's like to be from a small town. And he graduated in a class of 120 students. I graduated in a class of 20, so I know what that's like. And then he became a missionary, and his faith really got him to be stronger and more resilient in his path and in his life. And I think it's a very, very great great story. And so for him, now that he is in the league of opportunity, uh, he has a chance to show to everyone what he has to offer. He joins the Brahmas, a team that really needs to replace two big people. We lost Luke Barku and Dulante Stott to the NFL, and both of them were absolute beasts on our team. So we absolutely need a DB safety to replace those guys. I mean, they're no small shoes to fill, but I think that RJ has faced huge odds before and has overcome them based on his persistence and his and continue to channel his faith. I believe that he can take advantage of the opportunity that has been provided to him by the XFL and by the Brahmas. And I think he'll have the ability to fill those shoes very, very nicely. I am looking forward to seeing him on the field. I really do hope he makes the team. He sounds like a great kid and a great addition to our team. Looking forward to seeing more of him on the field, and I'm really excited about the season, and I'm really excited about to do my next video. So speaking of that, I think that's it for this video. Yeah, I think it's time for this Brahma to be put out to pasture. Yeah, at least until the next video. Until then, San Antonio, horns forward.